everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you an easy way to take regular boxes that you're getting ready to throw into the trash and turn them into some beautiful designer gift baskets. And I'm also going to share with you the links for the things that I'm putting in my gift baskets that I've made on both of my channels. So if you want to know how to make them, stick around. I'll show you how. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Right, Maxwell?
Okay, for this first one, I'm just using a regular tennis shoe box and I'm just going to cut the lid off. Now you can use any kind of box that you want. I'm going to kind of show you what boxes I'm using and how I'm wrapping them, but you can literally use any kind of box that you want to. And I am going to kind of close in the flaps a little bit. Just go ahead and glue them flat because you don't want them protruding out. For this first one, I'm just using regular gift wrap. You're going to measure the outside of your box, the inside of your box, and you're going to add 1.5 inches to this. And then just go ahead and cut your wrapping paper so it will go all the way around your box, and you're going to be able to fold over the edge on the end of it so it has a nice crisp edge once you get it onto your box. So just measure all the way around your box and add about 1/2 inch for your seam. To cover the bottom of our box, we're just going to trace out the bottom of our box onto our wrapping paper and then just cut that out. And we're going to trim it out here in a little bit, but just get the main size of it cut out. And for the inside of our box, we're just going to take the one we just cut for the bottom and we are going to duplicate it. Okay, to cover our box, we're going to use some Mod Podge and we're going to start on the bottom of our box and we're going to put our bottom piece on first. Just lay it up on top of there and then smooth that out really good. But just get it as smooth as you can. And then we're going to go ahead and do the sides the same way. We're going to start at one corner and you're going to leave about 1 inch on the bottom and then go all the way around, continuing to glue this on. Just really try to get this as smooth as you can. So we're just going to start on the side, wrap it around, and then we're going to do the other sides. Just continue to do this, but kind of really spend some time smoothing your paper out. This will smooth out real nicely, and then get your corners real crisp. And then just keep going all the way around till you have this completely glued in, and then we'll do the inside of it. But get plenty of Mod Podge on there. You want all of it covered so you don't have any buckling. And then once you get to the other side, we're going to fold our paper over so we have a nice finished out edge on the opposite side. And you do want to put a little bit of glue on the flap right there. I'm sorry I'm out of the camera, but you'll be able to see it here in a second. Continue just to glue all the way through and then put that flap folded inside and then meet the other side with it smooth. And then really smooth this out. For our bottom, we're just going to fold our corners inward and then just put some Mod Podge on those and glue those flat. And do the same thing for the opposite side to finish it out. To finish the inside of the box, we're just going to cut down to the corners on all 4 sides. You're just going to put Mod Podge on the inside of the box and you're just going to fold your flaps over. Now you are going to have about 1/2 inch overhang on the bottom. You want that so that your box is completely sealed up once we get the bottom on. So just continue to do all 4 sides exactly the same way and really flatten out your curves. And then on your 2 long sides, you will have to cut at a diagonal from the top to the bottom to get this to go in here completely on all 4 sides. And then to finish out the bottom, we're just going to put some glue on the bottom. And we're going to attach our little bottom piece. And then that way this will be completely covered up. All these boxes that we're making today, people will keep. They're not going to throw these in the trash. Dress my box up. I'm going to start in the back center with some velvet ribbon. I'm going to go all the way around and I'm going to meet it back into the back and glue that down. Then we're going to add a bow separately. Just make sure that you are getting it pretty straight. Go all the way around. And it's easier if you put the glue onto the ribbon and then pull it to get it even. And then once you get in the back, just cut that off and then we're going to make a bow for the very front. Okay, next for our bow, we're just going to cut our 2 little tails first and we're going to glue those on. This is a little bit easier because the back side of the bow is unfinished and then you don't want to see any of that unfinished side on your box. You're just going to glue those flat right down to your box on both sides and then we're going to attach our bow over the top. And for our bow, we're just going to take a piece of ribbon. We're going to kind of meet in the center and glue these together. And then we're going to put a little piece over the top part to kind of finish the bow out. This way you won't see any of the raw edge on the back of the bow. Okay, then you're just going to glue that right over those 2 little flaps. And then to finish it out, we're just going to take a little wreath that I got at Michael's, and I'm just going to glue it right to the front. All right, and that was it. I think this turned out super cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. And then to fill all the baskets today, I'm just taking some paper, just some tissue paper. I'm really going to fill up the bottom good first. And you could use any kind of paper. You could use paper bags or whatever. You want to get the bottom pretty full and then put your crinkle paper right over the top of it. And we're going to do this on all of our boxes today. For this next one, I'm just using the cookie box that I have, and I'm going to glue down all the sides. Now, all of these boxes are going to be put together very similar today. There's going to be a few little differences, and I'll kind of show you those, but I'm going to kind of go through the wrapping process of them pretty quickly. Okay, and just like the first box, you're going to measure the inside and the outside, and you are going to add 1.5 inches to it, and then get the measurement around it and just cut your fabric. And I'm going to use felt on this. Felt's pretty inexpensive. You can buy this at Hobby Lobby, and it goes a long way for a pretty inexpensive price. And I'm just using hot glue to attach this, going all the way around. And when you're using a heavier fabric, you are going to have to glue on every side. So take some time on this. You do want to put some glue just a little bit on the corners, but you do want to put glue on every corner. Otherwise, it's not going to stay together good, and you're kind of stretching your fabric as you're going so that you do have a nice smooth edge. And then when we get to the back, we're just going to glue that straight down on that side. With felt, you don't have to fold it over because it already has a nice finished edge. When we get to the bottom, we're just going to fold our edges over like this, and we're going to cut it at a diagonal. And that way, once we get that cut off of there, they'll meet in the middle and have a nice finished edge. Where you glue your sides down, you're going to go ahead and add your piece to the bottom. And just like the last box we did, you're just going to cut a piece the size of the bottom. And just really try to get that smoothed out good. And once you get your bottom on, we're going to go ahead and finish our corners exactly the same. You're going to cut all of them exactly like you did the first one. That way you won't have any buckling on the bottom. They'll just meet right in the center. And you're going to do all of those like that, and then we're going to start gluing this in. So just glue your flaps over. Just kind of make sure that you do get this pretty flat on the bottom. And you're going to do all the sides exactly the same way. This is really going to finish this out nicely. The inside of the box, you're going to do this exactly like you did the first one. You're going to cut down all your corners, and then you're just going to glue this right to the inside. And we're just going to use hot glue on this, so put plenty of glue and then put some glue down at the bottom and then fold that over, smooth it all the way out till it's glued to the bottom. And you can do all your sides exactly the same way. The inside bottom of our box, we're going to do this a little bit different than we did the other one. We're going to take some foam core board and we're going to trace the bottom of our box out. When you cut this, you're going to cut it about 1/4 inch on the inside of the lines you drew on both sides. And to cover with this with felt, we're just going to notch our sides out all the way around, and then we're just going to glue this over onto the bottom of this. And this will have a nice finished look once you get this put into your box, because it kind of does give it a little bit of a puffy look to it, like it has a nice bottom. But just get that completely glued in all the way around. Just going to glue this right into the bottom of our box. Okay, to decorate this box, I just got this little napkin ring holder from Hobby Lobby, and I'm taking some of that green velvet ribbon, and I'm just going to wrap it all the way around my box. So hook it onto your wreath first, and then you can tightly pull it to go around to the other side to hook it on all the way around. You're just going to wrap it around there enough just to get a little bit of loop that you can glue to the back part of the other ribbon. So just pull it on around there tight, and then just glue that together. And then I'm going to flip it over to the back, and I'm going to glue along the back edge. And you do want to glue your wreath on a little bit too. Just put a little bit of glue underneath the wreath. It doesn't have to go all the way around, just a little bit. Flip it over and then glue the back. Just make sure that your line is pretty straight. And then to dress up my wreath, I'm just going to come in with some small pine cones and randomly put these around my wreath. This just kind of decorated it up a little bit.
Next, I got these tags from Hobby Lobby, and I just printed Merry Christmas with my Cricut to put onto the tag. And that's pretty much it. This was a really quick and easy one. To attach the tag, I'm just taking another piece of that velvet ribbon, wrapping it around my tag, and I'm going to put some glue on here, and then I'm going to glue it into the inside of my basket, just at the very top. And if they want to remove that later, all they got to do is heat it up with a heat gun, and it'll come off real easily. And I'm just putting a little spot of glue on the inside to hold it in place. I just filled it with that same stuffing, and look how cute that is.
Today's video is sponsored by Meeden Arts. They sent me this little advent calendar, and it comes with a really nice gift bag to put it into. This does not have to be an advent calendar they use during Christmas time. This is a great craft kit that they can use after Christmas, so it makes a nice gift. And inside it has 2 boxes that have an advent calendar for halfway through and then the other half. So you got 1 through 12, and then you got the rest of it 13 through 24. And these are loaded with art supplies. I mean, if you calculate up how much art supplies are in this, this is really a good value. And this is the first box, and then this is what's in the second box. So you get quite a bit in both boxes. And I'll leave the link and the coupon code in the description below.
For my next one, I'm just using an oatmeal box, and I'm just going to cut it down because it's a little bit big. I don't want it as big as the last one, so just cut it down to whatever size that you want to. And I'm cutting it down pretty good bit. Cover this with some buffalo plaid fabric. I'm going to do it exactly like I did the last 2 boxes, and I'm going to go kind of fast on this so you can see what I'm doing, but I am going to attach this with Mod Podge because it is a thin fabric and I want it to be pretty flat on here. When you get a little bit thicker fabric, it's a little bit easier just to use hot glue, but when you use a thin fabric, you want it to adhere really well, and the hot glue just buckles the fabric a little bit too much. You're going to cut your fabric exactly like you did the last 2, where you have an extra 1.5 inches. And then you want to be able to go inside the box and on the outside the box. And it is a little bit more challenging when you are using a plaid, but you can make this work good. And I'm going to show you here in a minute how I'm going to decorate the front, so if you don't get it straight, you're not even going to be able to tell. And then once we get to the other side, we're just going to fold our fabric under, and we are going to use hot glue to attach this. Bottom of this box, I'm just going to take a piece of felt that matches the fabric, and I'm just going to draw my square out here, or my rectangle, and I'm just going to glue that right down to the bottom. I'm using the Mod Podge on this felt bottom because I don't want it to lift at all, so I'm going to put it on here pretty heavy and then iron that on. That way it'll be permanent and it won't lift. And then I am going all the way around the edge just to make sure this is secured really well. I did the outside of the box. I'm going to add Mod Podge to the inside of the box, and then I am going to use my iron to flatten this out. You just want to make sure that it is pretty flat, and this works really good. And you don't even have to wait completely till the glue dries. Just go ahead and iron it. It's going to adhere to it. And then do all 4 sides of that, and then we'll do the bottom. For the bottom of the box, I'm doing it exactly like I did the felt box, where I'm just covering a piece of foam core board. Just cover it up completely. It doesn't have to be perfect because this side's going to be laying down into the box. And just glue that right down into the bottom just like we did the other ones. To decorate this, I'm going to use some 5-gallon stir sticks, and I'm just going to frame the front, which is actually going to be the back. So you are going to cover up that seam that was on the side right there. This will completely seal this in where you don't have any seams. And I'm just going to cut my pieces of wood so they go all the way across the top, and then the 2 short ones in the center that meet up with the top and the bottom. Just kind of get them lined up, make your mark, and then pull the other ones in and make your mark, and then we're just going to cut this with a saw. Once you get them cut, just kind of check your fitment, make sure everything fits in here good. And then we're going to take some time to stain these a darker stain color. And I'm just going to put some gloves on. I'm using a dark walnut stain. I'm staining the side that does not have the ruler on it, and I am going to stain all the edges, but I'm not going to stain the back because it is going to be glued to my box. I'm just going to attach these with hot glue, but you want to put plenty of it on there. And then I'm going to hold this in place for a while until it does dry really good. And then I'll add my 2 sides and my bottom to it. You're just coming up to the very top edge of your box. And then go ahead and put your 2 sides on both sides and attach your bottom. And that way you do cover up that seam. And you could do this to all the sides of your box, but I just chose to do just the front. Just make sure when you're putting these on that you are pushing them straight up there against the other piece of wood so you don't have any gaps. To decorate it, I'm going to use another one of those little napkin holders that I got at Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to glue it right to the front. I think it really went good with this rustic look.
Okay, then to dress it up, I'm just going to add a black and red checked ribbon. I'm just going to put that right on top of my wreath. You can decorate these boxes so many different ways. Just don't throw them away, because this box right here probably would have been at least $15 at Hobby Lobby if you had to buy it like this. And you can make it for just a fraction of that price. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would hit that button. Next one, I'm just using just an Amazon box, and I'm going to cut all the flaps off of it. Next, I'm going to take some foil and I'm going to wad it all up, and then I'm taking a 12 by 18 piece of craft foam. I'm going to heat it up, and then I'm going to start pressing my foil into it. This is going to give it a leather look. And you don't have to use an embossing gun. You can use a blow dryer. Just really spend some time heating it up and push that into it, and it will give it a nice texture. And I'm going to do the entire sheet this exact same way. This doesn't really take that long to do. The more you heat it, the quicker you can get that foil pushed into it, and it does create a really nice design. Next, I'm going to take a bowl of water and I'm going to add just some black paint to it. It'll still be really liquid, and then take a sponge brush and paint the entire piece of foam. You want to saturate it really good and let it set up on there for a little bit. But you want to saturate every single bit of this piece of foam. This way, it's going to go down into the grooves that you just created with the foil to give it the leather look. Then you're going to take a paper towel and you're going to start wiping it off. Now, I'm wiping it pretty hard here. Don't do that. Start dabbing it. See how I'm doing the dabbing part better? That worked a lot better, and it gave it a little bit more of a leather effect. So you're just dabbing off the liquid. And then the dark spots will stay on there because they've gone down into the grooves where you created the foil. And then you just set that aside and let that dry really well. And next, you're going to measure the height of your box, and you're going to add 1.5 inches. And then you're going to measure the length of the box, and you're going to cut this into 4 strips. So you're going to have a strip for each side of the box with 1.5 inches overhang on top. Get all your pieces cut out. We're going to start on the short side. We're going to line this up centered in the center and fold the top over and the bottom over. And then we're going to glue this on. So you're overhanging the top and the bottom equal amounts. So get that glued on real good, and then we'll glue the top part into the inside and the bottom onto the bottom of the box. And you can stretch this stuff if you get it a little bit too short. It does stretch real good. And then just fold the bottom over and glue it in. And then we're going to fold the top on the inside of the box and glue it in. And then we're going to do all the other 3 sides exactly the same way. Just really make sure that you get that pretty flat. You do your other side, you're going to make sure that you get it right up against the side that you just glued, and glue those together so they become one little piece. And just kind of glue right down the side part and then connect the 2 together. And then they will be a pretty solid piece. And then just keep going until you have it completely covered up. Then for the bottom, you're just going to measure exactly the size of the bottom of the box. You're going to cut your craft foam, and we're going to glue that down to the bottom. On the inside of the box, we're just going to use some felt, and you're just going to cut it 1/2 inch less than the length of the box or the height of the box. That way it'll go just below the craft foam, and it'll go all the way down to the bottom and be flush right with the bottom. Don't make it all the way to the top. You want to be able to see that craft foam on the inside of the box at the top ledge. And you're going to put all 4 pieces in exactly the same way. And if you saw how it overlapped on the sides, that's what you want to do on the long sides. And then the short sides will finish it out solid. And you want to close your flaps on the bottom of the box if they are lifting up. And then just keep going till you have all 4 of your pieces put in. Felt works really good for this because it doesn't have any frayed edges. You don't have to fold it over or to create a nice seam. It already has a nice seam once it's been cut. For the inside bottom of the box, I just took a piece of cardboard that I cut the size of the bottom of the box, and I'm just folding my felt over to make the bottom. I didn't use the foam core board because this is a little bit more shallow of a box, and I didn't want it so thick. You're just gluing this into the bottom just like you did the other ones. And next, to decorate the box, I just got some little upholstery tacks, and I'm just going to stick them into the side and run them all the way down. Now, they have a pointy tip on them, so once you get these put in exactly where you want them, go ahead and take them back out. Take some wire cutters and cut the tips of them off so that they have more of a blunt tip on the inside. You're not going to feel them on the inside, but just to be safe on it. And we're going to do them on the front and the back exactly the same way. And then once you get done with this, start pulling them out, cut the tip of them off, and then put them back in and glue them in. That way they're a little bit more safe. You just put a little bit of glue in there, and you're going to do each one of these tacks exactly the same way. So just cut each one of them off and then start gluing them in. Right at the front, I'm just going to take a brown ribbon and I'm just going to tie it into a bow. Just kind of make sure that you do get it lined up pretty much in the center. And then I'm going to take another piece of that craft foam and I'm just going to cut the shape of a Christmas tree to make a tag to go with this. Just kind of angle it up and then cut the sides out, then angle it up again and cut the sides out a little bit smaller as you're going up. And then we're just going to attach this with some baker's twine. And you're just mirroring the other side with this side. And then I'm just punching a hole in this and I'm going to add some baker's twine. That way, once I fill my basket with what I'm going to put in it, then I can put my plastic wrap around it and tie this on top as my tag. And I'm just going to cut a little piece of greenery just to stick in the center. I think greenery really does help dress up packages. Just stick it right down there in the front. Look how cute that is. This next one, I'm just using a coffee can, and I'm going to pull my fabric around till it overlaps on the bottom. And then I'm going to cut about an inch over the top. And you want to add an extra inch around the diameter so that we can make a nice finished seam by folding it over. And then be sure and iron your fabric because it makes a big difference. Then we're going to make our seam on the side. This is going to finish out the side of our can. And then go ahead and wrap it around your can, and then we're going to glue this, and then we're going to take it back off. Just wrap it around, but not so snugly that you can't get it back off. What we're making right here is the liner for our can. Okay, once you got that glued on, then just go ahead and pull it right back off your can. And then we're going to turn it inside out, and we're going to sew a casing up around the bottom to gather it up. That way you won't see the bottom of your can once you're finished. And I'm just using 1/4 inch stitches all the way around. So go all the way around, and then you're going to draw that up, and you're going to just tie that into a knot. So you're making kind of like a bag is what you're making. Just to our can, we're going to just place it over the top with the seam on the outside, and we are going to glue it about an inch down from the top. And as you're gluing, just kind of make sure that you are trying to get it lined up pretty even all the way around. And we're going to cover this edge up in a little bit anyways, but just kind of make sure that you are going all the way around kind of evenly. And then we're just going to tuck that down into the bottom of our can, and in the center hole where you gathered that up, just put a little bit of glue and push that down. Next, for the outside of the can, you're going to cut some fabric out, and with leaving about 1.5 inches taller than the can. And then be sure and iron it, and we're going to iron the top edge down, fold it over so we have a nice finished edge on the top, and we're going to do the same thing on one of the sides. And I'm only coming down about a 1/2 inch on the side, on the top part here. And then we're just going to line this up with the top part of the can, and you're going to start with your raw edge on this side, and we're going to finish out with the folded over edge on the opposite side. So just line it up really good and just start gluing that all the way around to get that put on. And just kind of make sure that you do get it straight, and then we're going to glue down this one side here in just a second. Just kind of line it up really good, and then go ahead and glue your side down. Especially if you're using a pattern like this. And then just keep going till you have it completely glued in all the way around. And this is a great way to wrap any kind of a cylinder container. It doesn't have to be this big of a coffee can. You can use a smaller coffee can, but anything that's round, you can line like this. It makes it so pretty. And then once you get to the opposite side, you're going to take your folded edge and you're just going to glue that down. And for the bottom of the can, you're just going to cut slits all the way around. We are going to cut this a little bit short. I did get a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. But you're just cutting about 1-inch slits all the way around, and we're going to glue this to the bottom. But we are going to shorten these up a little bit. You only really need maybe about a 1/2 inch overhang. And then just start gluing those down to the bottom, and then we're going to cover this up with a piece of cardstock here in a little bit. So just get them pretty flat. Trace out the bottom onto a piece of cardstock, and then you're going to cut it on the inside of where you drew your line because you want it to be a little bit smaller than the complete outside diameter of that circle. And then you're going to glue that right to the bottom. Press this up. I'm just going to glue on some blue velvet ribbon, and I'm going to put it around the top and the bottom both. And I'm just lining it up right against the top edge. And then I'll do the same thing on the bottom, right around the bottom edge. This was a real easy way to kind of decorate this up a little bit. So I'm attaching another one of those little napkin ring holders that I got at Hobby Lobby. Now, if you can't get any of these, you can make a wreath out of garland, just kind of fold it up, a little small garland. Or you can use any kind of greenery that you want. And then I'm coming in with some little pine cones to fill in just like I did the other ones. And then I'm going to finish it off with a little velvet bow right on top of the wreath. I think that turned out so pretty. Let me know what you think.
Hey, what a wonderful day.
This last one, I'm just using a Splenda box, and I'm going to cut all the flaps off the top. Cover this, I'm just going to use a paper bag, and I'm just going to cut it just like I did the gift wrap in the very first one. So you're just going to literally wrap it exactly the same way, but you're using paper bag instead of gift wrap. So you're applying the Mod Podge, and then you're going to iron this on just like you did the other one. And then we're going to do the same thing on the inside of the box. We're going to put Mod Podge on the inside, and then push our flaps over. And then for the inside of the box, we're going to use the foam core board, and we're just going to cover it with that same paper bag to make the inside bottom. We're just going to glue it right down into the bottom. Okay, to decorate this one, I'm just going to use a paint pen. I'll give you the link for that in the description below. And I'm just going to decorate this gingerbread style. So I'm just doing little swirls, and I'm going to kind of go fast on this so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm going to cover the entire box, and I'm going to do part of the inside of the box. And this is real easy. Just kind of spend some time just making little swirls. It was really fun to do. And then I went back in and just put a bunch of little dots in there just to kind of finish it off. I did the inside top edge the same way. Next, I cut a Christmas tree out just like I did before. And I'm just going to take my paint pen. I'm going to draw a line down the center. And I'm just going to add little swirls to decorate this up. This is a great little gift tag to go with this. Just do little swirls. It doesn't have to be perfect. The more little swirls you have, the more you won't see any kind of mistakes on it. And then I mirrored it on the opposite side. You just add your tag once you get your gift put together. For the front part of the box, I'm just attaching a brown and white checked ribbon. Just going to tie it into a bow. And then I'm going to paint a little gingerbread man, and I'm just going to glue him right to the front. Okay, then I'm just going to add a few products that I made on my channel. I'll give you the link for all these in the description below. I did these on one of my channels and the other one. I'll give you the link for both of them. These are great gifts, easy to make. They're very budget friendly and they look great in a gift basket. And then add a little greenery in there too. That looks really cute, a little Christmas tree. Really fill your basket up good. And then we're just going to put a little bag around them and then tie our little tag off at the top.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope it gave you some inspiration to take some of your empty boxes and decorate them up to make some beautiful gift baskets. These are pretty easy to do and you can customize them any way you want, and I promise you, whoever you give this to is going to keep it. So, if you like these kind of videos, be sure to give me a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when I have a new video upload. Thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. See you next time. Thanks for watching.